Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to I/O. For about a third of you here live, this is your first I/O, and it's mine too. I'm so glad to be here with you live and to welcome all of those on live stream. You know, we have developers here from 120 countries around the world. And many of you watching us from around the world, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for making time, no matter what time it is where you are, to invest in yourself, your knowledge, and to spend time with us as we tell you what we're super excited about showing you today. Many of you are connected through our developer community groups. You know, we have almost 1,000 Google developer groups around the world. And if you're one of our Google developer experts, each of you do so much to help your local developer community learn and grow with Google. We appreciate everything you do for us. You know, we each have our own unique paths to becoming developers. Some of you here are students, and just by being here, you've got a leg up on your path to learning. When I was in college, my first job was in the computer science lab, learning to program the first 3D graphical visualization library for gaming and entertainment software on a Silicon Graphics Iris workstation. You know, developing that visualization library was so magical because people could create amazing special effects with it so quickly. And even though I'd never programmed before then, I felt confident that with the cutting-edge tools and some helpful friends, I could do it. I could figure it out. And that's the feeling we want each of you to have today and every day, that anything is possible and that you can create that next amazing experience, app or startup. There's never been a better time to be a developer. There are 3 important reasons that I believe this is true. First, new user interfaces such as voice, camera, speech are making computing ambient, available to humans wherever they are, all the time, and enabling much richer forms of interaction than were possible through keyboards and mice. Second, as you heard this morning, the assistant provides great facilities to make computing much more helpful and convenient for people. And third, with the advent of cloud computing, we offer incredibly effective tools for developers, whether that's the convenience of serverless and container technology, or the ability to infuse artificial intelligence and machine learning into your applications. Now, Google was founded by developers, and we're made up of engineers and developers. Our engineers work hard to bring you new platforms and APIs so that you can get your idea and your passion in front of billions of users, including the next billion to come from around the world. We give you an opportunity to see how far your ideas can go, and we're grateful to play a role in this. With this opportunity also comes responsibility. Each of us shares a responsibility to our users to make good things for them, to be advocates for them, to respect them, to help them, to delight them with what you build with your creativity and passion. We at Google have a responsibility to you, the developer community. We seek to empower you with the technology and tools to help you build, grow, to learn, and to earn. And that's exactly what we're here to do today. We're going to spend the next hour sharing an awesome set of updates from our developer teams at Google, who are working to enable and support you on your unique path. Whether that's the latest advances in our assistant, machine learning, Android, web, and more. We have a fantastic show planned for you. To get started, I'd like to welcome Chet to share the latest from Android.
We heard in the earlier keynote about the amazing ecosystem that Android has become. I want to focus on two aspects of that ecosystem. One is that Android is a product that brings rich experiences to users, that's all of you, all over the world. The other is that Android is also a platform that brings capabilities to developers, that's also all of you, to build powerful applications. So today, I'm going to talk about the things that we're doing to ensure that users can have a product that they trust, while developers become more productive with our platform. So first, let's talk about responsibility to our users. As a developer community, we all care about getting this right. It's about building a platform that gives developers powerful capabilities while making sure that users feel that their safety and privacy is protected. When we released Android Q Beta a few months ago, we had nearly 50 features and improvements that were all about giving users more control and transparency over their experience. But some of those changes required more effort from you, the developers for the platform. A good example of that is the changes in storage. We got strong feedback from you in the Beta 1 and Beta 2 releases that helped us find a better way. So you'll see in the Beta 2.5 and 3 releases that we have a new approach that reflects the input that we got from you and makes it easier to adopt to those changes going forward. So thank you for the feedback, and please keep it coming. This is actually exactly why we do preview releases, because we want to iterate with you to find the best solution for everybody before the final release. It's why we do previews, and it's also why we love our developer community. Speaking of developers, let's talk about developer productivity. We care about productivity for developers. In fact, we care deeply about productivity for developers because we are all developers as well. And we know that the more productive we are, the more code we get to write. So 2 years ago, we announced Kotlin as a supported language for Android. Many developers are using Kotlin already, and many more have been using it since. In fact, over 50% of our pro developers are using it, and it's the fastest growing language on GitHub. It's production ready, and it's being used by top apps both inside and outside of Google. One of the concerns that we have, though, is that developers' typing skills are eroding without the need for so much boilerplate code. In fact, developers are so desperate for finger exercise that they're actually starting to comment their Kotlin code. A little. But you've asked us to do even more for Kotlin, so we're announcing today a big step. Android is becoming increasingly Kotlin first, with many new Jetpack APIs being introduced first for Kotlin developers. We also think that if you have a new project that you're starting, that you should be doing it in Kotlin, because frankly, there's less to type, there's less to test, and there's less to maintain. We're also investing much more in tooling, in docs, and in training. For example, together with JetBrains, we're announcing Kotlin Everywhere, which is a global series of educational events. But maybe you're using one of Android's two other officially supported languages, C++ or the Java programming language. That's fine. We continue to support these languages, and we continue to invest in them. For example, we have a new tool chain for C++. On the Java side, we're offering desugaring for language features up through Java 10, and soon you'll see desugaring for popular OpenJDK libraries like time and streams. So you can keep using those languages if they're using them, and trust that we will keep supporting them. We have always been committed on Android to compatibility, interoperability, and our ecosystem, and that is not changing. Last year, we announced Android Jetpack, which is a set of APIs to accelerate Android application development. We've had great adoption so far, with 80% of the top 1,000 apps shipping with Jetpack modules. Jetpack is all about typing less code to target a larger audience because we support releases all the way back to API 14. It builds on the capabilities that we already had with the support library, adds in what we had introduced with the architecture components, and we just keep introducing new APIs and libraries as we go. I'm going to talk about 3 new developments in Jetpack today: a new camera library, some new architecture components, and a brief glimpse into something brand new we're working on. So today we're launching Camera X. It's a library to make camera application development much more easy and consistent across 90% of the Android devices out there. A few years ago, I was talking to a couple of engineers from a company that was working on an interesting photo app. It took great pictures, it did all these interesting filtering effects, but they had a problem. Some of the devices the users had didn't run their application correctly without workarounds in their code. It was because of inconsistent support for some of the platform APIs. So here's how Camera X helps. It works on releases all the way back to Lollipop, and it can take those workarounds and put it in the library itself. So you call one API, and it figures how to make it work on the runtime device. And it does that with more concise APIs for core use cases so that your code can be smaller. And finally, it adds an extension add-on feature which can access device-specific functionality like HDR or night mode or portrait mode. We're working with several manufacturers on the extensions right now, and you'll soon see extensions coming out for both new and existing devices. Architecture components came out a couple of years ago specifically to address serious pain points in Android development. It also works, like the rest of Jetpack, across versions all the way back to API level 14. We've had a couple of components that we introduced last year at I/O that recently went 1.0. One of those is Work Manager for easier simplification of background job scheduling. The other is Navigation Controller for easier creation and editing of in-app navigation. We're also doing new work on existing components, such as RxJava and coroutine support in Room, as well as for Kotlin developers, deep integration of coroutines into the lifecycle and live data modules. And we're working on new components. We announced Save State for View Model, which allows easier processing of application of process restarts. And we also have a new Jetpack module for benchmarking, which allows much easier performance testing of your application code. And there's one more thing I want to mention about Kotlin development. We know that many of you have been wanting a modern reactive-style UI toolkit, but it takes advantage, one that takes advantage of Kotlin and also integrates with the platform code as well as all of your existing application code. We've been working hard on a Kotlin-first library that we call Jetpack Compose. It's a reactive UI programming library that we are proud to announce today we will be developing in the open in AOSP. And that's, sure, you can do that. So you can check that out starting today. And this is just a brief tease. If you want to know more about that, attend the What's New in Android session, which immediately follows this keynote. So just stay in your seats and you'll learn more. Android Studio launched 5 years ago. Since then, they've had a lot of great features come out, like constraint layout editing, lots of profilers, static analysis, lots of great Kotlin support. But we heard from you that some of the fundamentals didn't work well enough for you, and it could be really frustrating.